You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
If there's ever a place I could be that I'm not going to get in trouble, it's going to be at FTX.
I just wanted to let you know, jail's not that bad. It sucks, but it's not the worst thing ever. So don't fret if that. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, it's not that bad.
Good to know.
Sam? Sam?
Bottoms are made in any market. I don't care if you're in equities or in debt or in crypto or in real estate. You always need a big player to go to zero. That always helps, whether it's long-term capital or whether it's one of these crypto infrastructure companies. I would like to see, and I don't want this to happen, but it always gives you a good bottom when you get a large player over-levered that goes to zero. And that always tends to be the beginning of the rebuilding process. So if you have to sacrifice someone who used too much leverage, and it's always leverage that does this, somebody's over-levered, positions are complicated, they're not transparent, they're not liquid, and they go to zero. Someone is out there on the brink of zero. That's okay. In fact, I'd argue that's a good thing when we get it. Now, do we get it this week? Do we get it next week? Someone's going to zero. I don't know who, but it'll be great for everybody else that survives because everybody will learn from that. And that's what I like about a washout, an event. And I think we're due for one in crypto land. And I don't know who it's going to be, but I guarantee you 100%, I've seen this movie before, you will learn later that somebody put on a heavily
also involved with Terra Luna and burned by its collapse, now FTX. So why should investors trust you and Galaxy Digital?
Well, listen, we have been very candid the entire time we've been in business. We've had good risk management protocols. We invested in Terra Luna very early and exited our position the whole way along the ride. Warned investors that there's no free lunch when you're building up an ecosystem this big based on an algorithmic stablecoin, which we didn't invest in. And so, again, in early stage...
Yes, but Mike, you exited those trades. Yes, Galaxy Digital did, but not the retail investors. How do you reconcile that?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And you never let a good crisis go to waste. And guys, I say it and they write about it. And we got Kevin O'Leary on CNBC today. And guys, we see CNBC are bringing out all the puppets in order to push the NWO's agenda. And like I always tell you, when it comes to the billionaires, guys, they're not going to tell you the whole truth. They're only going to give you half the truth. The devil is always in the details. And when I call them puppets, now you understand why. We have Kevin O'Leary now calling for regulation. And not just regulation, he wants that stablecoin bill pushed. Why? Because it keeps the central banks in control. They even have even more power because this money is programmable. And then we had Novogratz just admitted on television that he sold his position in Luna before it crashed. Majority of these guys are Goldman Sachs guys. They don't lose money. They are a part of the plan. The reason why they show up on CNBC, because they're actors for the movie. And it's always the same characters. They're just moved around to different companies, these big corporations, but it's the same people. Only thing you have to do is connect the dots. And then we had Scaramucci had a nerve to say, I don't want to call it fraud because it's a legal term. Guys, he was using the FTT token the same way as the US dollar. The dollar is fraud. The dollar is not real. It's an IOU. And we see how the Fed used fiat to buy up the world. And what did FTX try to do? Take that FTT token and buy up the world. But we know the central banks are going to ride on the back of this in order to bring in the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Reaction today?
Obviously, one of frustration. There's no question about it. I'm still a huge advocate for the potential of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I'm disappointed, like many other shareholders. It sets, in a way, though, I always try and find what is the outcome of something like this. I mean, yes, I'm a shareholder in the International. That's a zero. It's not the first time I've made a bad investment, probably not the last time, but luckily I make more good ones than bad ones, and I learn from my mistakes. What's going to happen now is there won't be another situation like this for institutional investors ever again. We're simply not going to put capital to work until this stuff gets regulated. And what is occurring, and I'm just one voice in it, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to fly to Washington, and I want regulation. I want it now. No more delaying. I think this puts tremendous pressure on the SEC. I think a bill like the Stablecoin Transparency Act, which has been floating around forever, not going to signature, not going to markup, we got to stop doing this to ourselves. As an industry, it has to stop, but also it's time to move forward with regulation. And if this is the bottom of the crypto market. A massive player goes to zero. And now you build from the ashes. That's the upside. I am still going to invest in crypto. I lost money in the accounts there. They have a gate on them now. It doesn't stop me from buying more, and I'm going to do just that. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that most of these currencies and tokens and coins have absolutely been beaten into the ground as a result of this, and probably a buying opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
What do you need to see on paper before you would put fresh money into the space again? An actual bill?
Yes, I want to see it. I'd like to start with one thing. I don't think we can solve for every single asset in crypto. I want to do one thing, and that one thing is to pass the Stablecoin Transparency Act. One thing, because that allows us to use the US dollar as a payment system. I would use that in all of my businesses every day. It's far superior to ACH, far superior to SWIFT, far faster, more transparent, 100% audible. All I need is the regulation that forces an audit every 30 days and guarantees me the backup for this is Treasury bills less than 12 months of duration. That's one thing. Very simple. That would signal to everybody around the world that the regulators here in the United States are taking crypto on, starting to put rules in place, putting the guardrails on. No one is going to play ball anymore in this space on an institutional level.
Joining us right now is Anthony Scaramucci, Skybridge Capital founder, a CNBC contributor, and somebody who had sold part of his business to Sam Bankman-Fried. Anthony, it's great to see you, sir.
Well, I would say it's good to be here, but it's a concerning day, Andrew, and there's a lot of distress in the markets, and a lot of my friends think it's the worst week in cryptocurrency history.
Well, let's talk about that, and let's talk about the ramifications of it. But first, on a very personal basis, you spent some time with Sam recently. What happened?
Well, listen, I spent a lot of time with him, actually. We traveled to the Middle East. This is before these revelations were exposed. We were embarking upon helping him fundraise. He had purchased 30% of my business, and so as good citizens, we were trying to help him around the world. When the crisis hit over the weekend, I made a unilateral decision to fly down to the Bahamas on Tuesday in the spirit of helping. And so you caught what Brian was saying there. The original idea was this is a rescue finance situation, and could we somehow help, which would obviously help the entire industry. And then when I got to the Bahamas, it became clear, at least from some of the people that worked on the legal team, and the compliance team, that perhaps there was more going on than it being a rescue situation. So when I left the Bahamas in the afternoon, I was actually distressed. I don't want to call it fraud at this moment because that's actually a legal term, and none of us know, and we have to leave it up to the regulators, and we also have to give everybody a presumption of innocence. But I have to tell you, I'm distressed about it. I don't like it for the industry. And I would implore Sam and his family. He has two wonderful parents, Joe Bankman and Barbara Fried, I would implore them to tell the truth to their investors, get to the bottom of it, stop 22 tweets, but get themselves in front of a regulator and explain exactly what happened. And if there was fraud, let's clean it up to the extent possible and repair the accounts at FTX. For myself, I'll be working on buying back my equity and restoring that. The good news for Skybridge investors, we're
going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.